Alrighty, people. We are back after a long, long time, and the gaps are getting bigger, as has been the flow of Manchester United news, transfer bids, with incomings and outgoings. So maybe me and Ineos have something in common, but I can't lie. This last week or so, probably about a week and a half, closer to that. Um, I have been contemplating YouTube a little bit, and very simple reason. Um, Maybe it's just a bit silly for me to consider it, but who knows? I've played an intro video that has music on it. All it takes is for somebody to report it, and I could just lose my YouTube account altogether. I have been contemplating whether it's worth continuing doing YouTube, just simply because of this pandemic or this epidemic of channels getting absolutely clotted out of existence. And it's not just with, say, for instance, one, um, what is it, Michael.Chelsea, um, that channel. And I can't lie, that was a bit of a madness, YouTube. That was a bit of a madness that you slapped his channel. But then I see evidence that quite a few other channels, like people, by the way, that I've seen that created their own music, their own artistry, their own stuff, entirely their own. It's trademarked under their own name. They applied for it. They got it. They applied their own trademark, and these people were getting their channels removed for a copyright infringement on their own stuff. How about that? How about that? Absolute insanity. So yeah, I have been seriously contemplating it, because who knows, if I upload a video with my little channel, my teeny tiny insignificant channel, to the YouTube algorithm, maybe they'll consider making me disappear. You know, Thanos snap, see ya, goodbye. But it's not just see ya, goodbye to, just to this video or to any streams or any content. It's goodbye forever. If you ever wanna see YouTube ever again, little little buddy, go be a guest. Yeah, go be a guest on YouTube. Not even allowed to have an account on the platform. That's how crazy that is. You're not even allowed an account on the platform if they so decide to get rid of it for a simple deemed copyright infringement, which is insane, absolutely insane. So yeah, that's where my mind has been about content creation on YouTube. If for any reason I were to get slapped with a ban, and if people were to start mass reporting or flagging it to YouTube and saying, look, reinstate this, otherwise there's going to be, um, you know, serious repercussions as to whatever those repercussions could ever be. Who knows? Who knows what the people could end up doing if YouTube does decide to completely go out of hand? Worst case scenarios, I'll just end up going to another platform, one that doesn't think, oh, you know what, let's just delete his channel, because why not, and then ban him from ever making another one because we felt like it. Anyways, we're not here for that. We're here because the Mbeumo deal looks like, after a long time, and I say a long time, it's been forever. It's been forever since like the end of the first week of the transfer window, when it first opened at the start of June. We are what now? 17th, 18th. We're 17th of July, aren't we? Yes, 17th of July, and it's only now that we have any sort of clarity on what's going on with the Mbeumo bid. And 65. It was broken first by David Ornstein. £65 million guaranteed, with then a £5 million on add-ons, which it sort of rings true that that was the initially discussed fee at the very start of the contacts or the talks or the interest. So we've basically gone on a wild goose chase for a player that we're desperate to have. All the meanwhile, we've basically taken it absolutely nowhere and thrown two bits of nothingness into the void, just to end up ending with the fee that if we'd just bid with that the first time around, we probably could have actually have ended up getting him slightly cheaper. Just a tad. Just a tad. Because we needed the same ballpark as Cunha. And, 60 million plus then say 5 million in achievable add-ons, probably would have been accepted about 7 weeks ago, like genuinely. And we can say that it wasn't anything to do with finances, because we've had journalists come out to say that that's the hold up in this deal is not because United can't afford it. We absolutely could. All the other deals depend on outgoings, but this one was completely doable. But they've taken us down some crazy wild goose chase, and taking us with all different spins and statements, and we don't want to overpay, we're done, we're being really tight with our negotiations. But then, a little bit of interest from Newcastle for Mbeumo's teammate in Yvonne Visser is enough to make you force your hand for what the bid should have been to begin with, and actually slightly more than what it could have been. So I don't know about you guys, but they're trying to spin it as we're trying to change culture at United, but ultimately the culture is still very much a load of shite, because there's no way that a club that's serious about changing its culture try and control narratives by using the media publication. You don't need to do that. Your actions ultimately will speak louder than your words, right? So you wouldn't need to put statements out there. You would just act. You would just say, "Is Mbeumo worth this bid?" Yeah, or the asking price. Let's bid once, just below it. See if we can, figure it out there. And if they say no, we're not budging. Full stop. End of story. Then you can start negotiating that bid, the asking price, but then you can play around with the percentages. How much can we pay in installments? Would you be happy with that? Yes. Okay, let's talk percentages as to how we break that down, or how many years it will go across. You want add-ons with that? You're happy to have add-ons, as to increasing, bumping up the package a little bit to a 65 package rather than 70. The add-ons, how achievable are they? We've got these ideas for add-ons. Let's hear what yours are, and let's see if we can meet somewhere in the middle. There's all of those sort of talks that could have happened and could have been resolved within 1 to 2 weeks of the actual official lowballer bid going in. But the fact is they tried twice. They tried a bit more of the insult bid, and Brentford flat out rejected it. The second bid went in, was like oh, we're just going to slowly walk our way to you, as in the words of Sergio. We're going to walk our way to where it is we want to go, where meanwhile everyone else is running. But yeah, we're definitely going to walk our way to the right decision. For me, no. I don't buy the idea of walking to the end objectives. In football ultimately waits for no one. So wasting time, negotiations or talks just to end up paying the overall bid, is you've killed a lot of time, very valuable time, and not just with general time. You've absolutely screwed the pooch with perhaps the interest on the striker market, and also focusing on the player sales, um, which I don't still don't really think that United are necessarily doing enough on. Like for instance, say for example, Andre Onana. There's all sorts of publications going off on one about Emmy Martinez. Well, today we've had someone give clarity and say, well, Emmy Martinez, that's not what I'm hearing. According to other outlets, we're knee deep in negotiations. But then they came out and said, I've not heard anything. It's very reliant on Anana leaving the club. And now we've had updates as well about the fitness of Anana, that the initial injury was looking like, maybe a few months out, but now it's sort of changed where it's gone from a potential tear to a strain. So it goes from a couple months to maybe at most a month, um, and probably shorten there even more so to a couple of weeks. But however, a goalkeeper is a priority position because we need a goalkeeper that can stop shots. And as very simplistic, as very self-explanatory as it sounds, ultimately, it is really, really that simple. Really that simple. Just a goalkeeper who can save shots, because we don't really have that in an honour. We don't have a simplistic goalkeeper who can save shots. We have someone who's a very, flashy type goalkeeper who will throw himself all over the place except at the ball. So, yeah, sounds like Aaron Ramsdale, but without all a mix, the love child of Aaron Ramsdale and Dean Henderson, but their love child never actually wanted to be a goalkeeper. Eric Ten Hag, I've got a bit of an update on the Anthony to Bayer Leverkusen links. Ten Hag on Anthony and Bayer Leverkusen links. This is Ten Hag's word. He has great quality. I signed him twice. He was like a son to me. He still is a son to me. We're not interested in him at the moment, but we'll see what happens in the future. So just another, effectively for the meanwhile, another door being closed, which is expected. So we're seeing also updates on Victor Osimhen. I still don't know why people think that United can sign Osimhen. Literally is as likely that we'll sign Osimhen as it is that we'll sign Alexander Isak from Newcastle. As likely, which by the way, the striker links between Liverpool and Newcastle, is a bit of a madness. A bit of a madness. Looking like Isak was going to Liverpool, Ekitike to Newcastle, and then it's Ekitike is now going to Liverpool, and Newcastle holding on to Isak, and then also expressing an interest in Yvonne Visser. So a lot going on, a lot definitely going on, but hopefully, fingers crossed that with the third bid proposal for Bryan Mbeumo, it is that this is um, the final, the curtain call on the saga, on the deal, because I want it to be history now. I want this saga to be history. I do not want no bullshit Frankie de Jong 2.0. I don't want the BS. I want the S. I want the shit, the proper shit, the legit shit. Um, and that's what Mbeumo is. He is the shit, and that's what we need, especially in the front left, not front left, front right side of the attack, and adding Mbeumo into a starting attacking lineup with Mateus Cunha is a very strong proposition. Stick Xerxes in there, and he's going to be breathing a very big sigh of relief. I think even Hoyland, someone that we really don't want to hold on to, we don't want to keep, because with him it's just project impossible, mission impossible to get the best out of Hoyland, because the guys really genuinely look like he's regressed over the past year, which at his age it should be nigh on impossible to really regress in the manner that he has. So yeah, I think even him, and I think a lot of people will say like, we don't need Brian Mbeumo, we don't need this signing, we don't need this deal. But I would say, well, I'd ask why not this deal? Why not Brian Mbeumo? Because the problem isn't the attackers, it's the striker. Hoyland is not very good. We need another solid striker, and we need a goalkeeper. Those points are true, but look at the players of last season in those two tens. What was one of the biggest guilty verdicts that we could give on a standard United performance last season? Cut inside and shoot from 30 plus yards. And this was the tens doing this. Still shooting, like when we had Ten Hag with wingers, it was cut inside and shoot from 30 yards. Just move the positions more inverted some more, and it was still just as guilty, still doing the same thing, not really working the ball around the opposition's box, not getting into dangerous areas, not carrying the ball into dangerous areas, not using your smarts to aid the build up of the play. We've literally shifted from two players that shoot on sight in those two tens, in the 10 positions, right? Or players that are not fully cut out for a 10. I mean, Garnacho on one side, whoever's on the other side didn't necessarily shoot on sight, but they definitely weren't the most ideal fit in that particular capacity. We've gone from that, right, and a striker with no confidence, to a front three with two players that, one of them definitely expertise is in the 10, specialist in the 10. So that fully ticks all the boxes on the left hand side. The right side is more of a player that is versatile. He's done all sorts with Brentford. He's played in the right side of the front two. He's played as a winger, and he's also played sort of more so on the right hand side when you've got a front three as opposed to a front two. So he's basically moved right the way across the right hand side of the attacking positions on the pitch. In the 10, he sort of lands halfway, but I can imagine that he will get a bit of freedom to exercise that right hand side to spread the play a little bit. And if you've got Ahmad playing as a wing back down the right hand side, who knows? Maybe Mbeumo could be a right wing back because he's got very high work rates, and that might be a very key, attribute with Ahmad playing just ahead of him, and they can link up together. And you might see some very high technical plays. But one of the things you can't deny about what you're getting with Mbeumo down the right hand side is physicality, work rate, and pace. Very three key influences, and you don't look at it from a perspective of, well, I guess he's not very good at shooting. Well, no, he is. He is. He has got an eye for goal, so he can dribble. There's a lot of attributes that Mbeumo does bring to the right hand side. That is a major upgrade on what we had there last season. Same, you can ask the same thing with the left hand side. Mateus Cunha, maybe not so much pace. Hasn't got bags of pace to burn, but he's a very technical player. Very good eye for chance creation, as well as a very good eye for goal. He's capable of all sorts. And again, you could find that actually, given the atmosphere, given the environment, you probably push himself to be a hard-working individual as well. So, yeah, I think two very valuable pickups. We would like to have another striker. For me, I would want to prioritise a goalkeeper first, simply because last season we've well, not just last season, but for the past 2 seasons, we've watched a goalkeeper lose us games on his own, as if he is trying to do that. Like, it's that bad. Get a shot stopping goalkeeper. I don't even care if it's just the Botafogo guy. Victor, I can't remember the other part of his name. But 29-year-old goalkeeper from Botafogo. You know, even if it's him, just a shot stopper, straightforward. I know maybe Amarin would like somebody that's a little bit better with the feet. I think it's just way more important having someone that keeps the ball out of the net first, worries about play style second, in that order, than it is trying to flip it the other way round. But then the result on the second part, the shot stopping, isn't very good. You want a goalkeeper that does the priorities, the basics, the fundamentals first before anything else. So yeah, to me, getting a goalkeeper sorted is absolute priority. And then you can talk about the striker, right? And I think striker is definitely important, because I do not really want to have to say, let's give Rasmus Højlund even more opportunities, because the guy is so confidence dependent. He doesn't really have the ability to play himself out of it. So he would need, he'd need the team around him to be playing with confidence, which is not something you want to depend upon. You want somebody that is very, looks after themselves well on the pitch. If they will instill confidence in the team. It's a bit like the goalkeeper. If the team's not confident in you, you're a bit worried about conceding the chances, conceding the goals, and then that sort of impacts your defences. That does genuinely impact your defence's ability, or the performances. So, yeah, I think Mbeumo, judging that Brentford don't say no and say, go screw yourselves. We want to sell Vissa to Newcastle, and then we'll keep Mbeumo. Unless they decide to turn around and say that. Apparently, we are still waiting on Brentford's response, but I can definitely say that they are mulling over that third bid, because it does pretty much more or less land on top of the asking price. Now, it's just whether or not I can probably imagine United have probably not done it in the format that Brentford would really want. Henceforth, they've not leaped onto it and said, yes, we'll take that. So I can definitely imagine they might structure how they say no and say, this is a no, but if you change this bit around and this bit, that no becomes a yes. Can you do that for us? And if they do that, and if United, because the deal could still slip away from United, and they're so far gone in these negotiations, it sort of has to happen now. It sort of has to happen. So yeah, that's where we are at in this very moment in time. But just seeing what else is going on. Doesn't look like there's a lot going on. So yeah, hopefully we get the Mbeumo, here we go, very, very soon, and that we can finally put the deal behind us and actually start focusing on what the next priority is going to be. There is talks of potential deals for outgoings with Sancho. There's a lot of noise, not generally action, but noise, a lot of noise. Interest with Garnacho from other Premier League outfits. You've got Chelsea that are there. So they're sort of looking, they're like window shoppers with this deal, Chelsea. They just keep standing outside of it. They're like, I really shouldn't do this, but I just can't help it. I just cannot help it. So you've got them. Spurs. Now, I'll tell you what, if the Morgan Gibbs White deal falls through, um, then who knows? They might decide, you know what, Morgan Gibbs White was probably just a little bit too far out of reach for us then. Maybe Garnacho is the alternative. There's talk with Aston Villa that they might take a look at this deal and weigh up the potential there. Um, so there's things happening. I think obviously with what I've just said with Anthony, links with Bayer Leverkusen are very much cooled. I think he wants Betis more so than anywhere else, but Betis don't have the money to do a permanent deal. And then there was, I think, was a bit of a nothingness with Rashford to Juve. I don't think that deal will ever happen. I think he's still just praying that they get a move to Barcelona. Um, and yeah, that's kind of where we're at, to be honest. Um, so yeah, judging that YouTube don't decide to end me um, like a live execution, then yeah, hopefully we'll be back very soon with further updates, with further transfer talk. Hopefully, now that the position with where we're at with negotiations passes, we can focus on getting things up to speed. We fly out for the tour on Tuesday. We play against Leeds on Saturday in a pre-season friendly, and I say friendly, it's probably going to be a bit violent, but who knows? But yeah, hopefully that we have Mbeumo joining the tour. Ideally, we would like to have a lot more um, players involved, new signings involved, but it's going to have to be another late burner. Going to have to be another late burner. But yeah, smash a like and subscribe, and yeah, put in the comment section what do you think of YouTube? What do you think is going on? But also pop your thoughts in about the Mbeumo transfer saga, as well as other deals that might be on the horizon. Until then, guys, take care, and we'll be back again sometime soon in the future. Take care, people. Stay blessed.